Before we start, just a reminder for everyone to please silence their phones. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the Rockville Center Board of Education Candidates Forum. My name is Laura Burns, and I am the co-president of the RVC Council of PTAs, along with Emma Travers. We are thrilled to see so many people out supporting our community, and we'd like to welcome those watching from home as well. Tonight's forum would not be possible without help from our district clerk, Jackie Wong, and also from Lauren Billig and Suzanne Flanagan. All these women are always very professional and capable, but this year they've become experts at setting up COVID-safe events as well, and we are very, very grateful for that. We'd also like to thank Bob Kroger for handling all of our technological needs tonight, along with Matt Cobb, and we have, I think, 4 students from the Southside High School AV Club with us. Tonight's forum will be recorded, and the recording will be available on the district website, probably starting tomorrow. So this has been a difficult year for all of our families. Our children have faced unprecedented challenges, whether they were in school in person, remotely, or a mix of both. We're proud to say that PTA rose to that challenge. The presidents and other PTA volunteers from all 7 schools and SEP worked tirelessly, and as it turned out, creatively, to make sure that students felt supported and that teachers were shown the gratitude that they so richly deserve, especially this year. Even in a pandemic, PTA is determined to uphold our mission of every child, one voice. On behalf of Emma and myself, we'd like to thank our PTA presidents and officers for doing the work to make that mission a reality. In fact, as we've all learned, it's even more important during a crisis that we strive to make sure all our kids are heard and all their needs are met. Because here in Rockville Center, all truly does mean all. We applaud the teachers, administrators, the staff, and also the parents who have kept our kids' needs front and center throughout this strange and often frustrating year. Together, we and our children have learned a lot about the importance of resilience. So let's get started. Our forum tonight is designed to allow the RVC community to get to know the candidates for our Board of Education. There are 2 seats open this year, and our 4 candidates here on stage with us. The election will be held on May 18th. Voting will be open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. here at the high school. You may also vote by absentee ballot, and the governor has decreed that the potential for contracting the COVID virus is one of the valid reasons to obtain an absentee ballot. Applications for absentee ballots can be requested by mail until May 11th, and they can also be obtained at the administration building or downloaded from the district website. We are happy to have representatives from the League of Women Voters with us tonight to facilitate this forum. It's my pleasure now to introduce Ms. Ruth Jones, the co-president of the Central Nassau League of Women Voters.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ruth Jones, and I'm co-president of the League of Women Voters of Central Nassau with Patricia Meadows. And the League of Women Voters is a political, nonpartisan organization. We help to educate and try to educate the communities about the voting registrations, and also we are involved in other issues. At this time, I'm not trying to keep this short because I know you're limited as far as time goes. I would like to introduce the moderator for the evening, our voter service chairperson, first vice president, Mrs. Marion Fleming. Also, we have as our timekeeper, Mary Lambert. I also would like to let you know that our league serves over 13 communities, of which Rockville Center is one. And now, Marion.
Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For the last probably 10 years, Central Nassau has been coming to South Side to register the seniors to vote. If you have had a graduate during that time, they saw probably Ruth and me. And we were always so pleased to come. I would get here at 7:30 in the morning, and every corridor was already lined with students sitting on the floor waiting for the doors to open. So no wonder your school is ranked so very, very high. And I know they will keep up the good work. Just a brief word about the League. Ruth has already said some things about the League. We are nonpartisan. The League does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. It is political in that it reaches positions on selected governmental issues after the members study the issues and agree and take action for positive change on those positions. We will be working very hard on the issue of redistricting, and then we'll be going, we hope, back to what we have been doing in high schools and colleges with the voter registration. All right. Now, before we begin, I will read the procedures for the evening. The candidates have read them, and they agree with all of them. The moderator will be a member of the League of Women Voters from outside the district. Candidates for the same office will draw lots to determine the order of speaking, and they will be speaking in the order in which they are seated for the first question. Cards will be distributed by volunteers from the PTA with questions for the candidates. But we ask that you please write legibly and use the best language, because we cannot have any abusive questions. Questions must be confined to the issues in the campaign. The moderator will rotate the order of speaking for each question. Each candidate will be allowed 3 minutes for an opening statement. After all candidates have spoken, the moderator will read questions from the cards. Questions may be addressed to a specific candidate or the candidates in general, but all candidates will be given an opportunity to answer every question. A league member will act as timekeeper, and our timekeeper is Mrs. Mary Lambert. Mary, would you stand, please? Mary is from Merrick. Each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes to answer a question. Candidates will have 2 minutes for a closing statement and will speak in the same order as the opening statement. Since the purpose of the meeting is to determine the candidates' views, you will notice that there are no substitutes. These are the people who are running for the position. Tonight, the program will be recorded, and the approval for this has been given by all of the candidates. Before beginning, however, I need to say something. Your applause has been wonderful. What am I going to say next? Please do not applaud after our candidates make their remarks or answer the questions. Please. We are limited as far as time, and at the end, you may applaud as loudly as you choose, but please don't applaud as we go along. With that said, we will begin, and we will have our first opening statement by Nancy.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Turnblazer. I have 3 children in our district, a 4th grader at Hewitt, a 2nd grader at St. Agnes, and a 4-year-old at the Learning Academy. I decided to run for the Board of Education because I truly believe our community needs a fresh perspective on the school board. Our district is at an inflection point. We're in the midst of a worldwide pandemic. We have a new superintendent, and our secondary schools' rankings have fallen over the past decade. While we have a strong foundation with a committed community that clearly values education, we must continually improve and evolve. I believe I have the experience and the ability to see things differently to bring that new perspective. I'm running because I care about our children. I have always been drawn to public service. I worked for 14 years at the Federal Trade Commission, where it was my job to ask questions that ultimately helped consumers. I'm concerned about transparency and the perceived lack of community partnership. I believe it is very important to conduct public meetings in an open forum and not push controversial topics or votes into executive sessions. I also believe we need to promote greater community partnership. There have been times where parents, including myself, have felt their voices on important topics have been ignored. Finally, we want to figure out how our rankings have been falling and what can be done to improve them moving forward. Southside High School recently fell out of the top 100 high schools in New York. When I look at other comparable districts on Long Island, such as Garden City and Jericho and Manhasset, their schools have much higher rankings. Rankings don't tell the full story, but they do drive home values, and they are an indicator of how our schools are educating our students. A consistent theme I have been hearing from our community is that we need to closely look at our secondary level curriculum. The way schools are ranked have changed over the past few years. Do we need to change our model to remain competitive? The way children are being educated is changing rapidly. I believe now is the time to be exploring all the doors of opportunities for our kids, to prioritize conducting business in a transparent manner, and to find ways to strengthen our district's reputation to the place it deserves to be. If elected, I would be excited to work with the community, the administration, and the other members of the Board of Education to meet these challenges. Thank you.
And now we will hear from Kelly.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the PTA Council, the League of Women Voters, for hosting this candidate forum this evening. And thank you to the community for taking the time to learn about the issues and the candidates. My name is Kelly Barry, and I am seeking re-election to the Board of Education. My husband Kieran and I are both blessed with parents that have taught us so much, not least of which is the importance of serving one's community. All four of them still do this to this day. That is why it is essential for both Kieran and I to instill those same values in our three children, all of whom attend Rockville Center Public Schools. We both proudly serve this community that we all love. 3 years ago, while I was a co-president of the Watson PTA, I decided to run for a seat on this board because I believed I could provide important insights and contributions in this capacity. My experience as an educator brings an important lens to this work. I am the IB coordinator and a social studies teacher at Hauppauge High School, where I have proudly worked for my entire 20-year career. I currently teach college psychology and IB theory of knowledge. My love for this community and my passion for public education were why I decided to run 3 years ago. They remain the reasons I sit here tonight seeking re-election. There has been so much change in our district over the last 3 years. We have a new superintendent of schools, new administrators at both the district and building levels, and of course, all of the changes that have been thrust upon us because of the pandemic. That is why it is important to have steadiness, calm, consistency, and stability in the midst of so much change. My priority for the short term is to finish out this year strong, to bring our students back to stability, a continuity of learning, normalcy, and better days ahead. Taking what we've learned coming out of the pandemic and using that to move us forward. We need to support our students' academic, social, and emotional growth. We need to ensure a stable learning environment, and it will take all of us working together, our whole community, students, parents, teachers, and the board. I look forward to answering your questions this evening. Thank you so much.
And next, Liz.
Thank you. I would like to thank the PTA Council for hosting this forum and the League of Women Voters for moderating. I have lived here with my husband in Rockville Center for 30 years, raising our 2 children who are proud Southside graduates. My father was a teacher. He taught me that education was the most important thing to give to a child. I am the youngest of 3, and my older brother had developmental disabilities. I watched as my parents fought for his education. When told that my brother couldn't be educated, my father taught him to read. My mother battled the school district, founded a special education PTA unit, and fought New York State for a parent's right to advocate for their child. My parents taught me to stand up to those who tell you that your child doesn't belong. I showed my children the same things my parents showed me. I became a PTA president at Watson, and 12 years ago, when the Board of Education proposed that we close an elementary school, I stood up and ran for the board. I come from a family of education advocates, and I am passionate about schools doing the right thing for all of our children. For the past 3 years, I have served on Nassau-Suffolk Executive School Board, an organization which brings together school boards across Long Island to learn from each other and lobby for educational priorities. And because education is important, I regularly attend our board conferences and workshops to educate myself and the board on current topics and best practices. During my 6 years as board president, I shepherded a $46 million bond, which included expanding our high school, district-wide building improvements, and upgrades to our athletic facilities. I was part of the team that hired June Chang, who has led our district to where we are now. Our schools are fully open. Our students have access to electives, including elementary art, music, FLES, and support classes. I have always kept you, the taxpayer, in the forefront of our planning. Our budget has always remained below the tax cap. This year, our proposed budget provides for increases in staffing, support, mental health, and needed capital improvements, including 3 new playgrounds. And it does all of this without increasing the tax levy. Serving on a school board has never been about my own children or my friends' children. Serving on the school board is about all of our children. We have 7 buildings with over 3,500 students. I come from a family rooted in education, and it's clear to me that there's more work to be done. In my professional life, I am an IT consultant with a specialty in training CPAs and accounting staff on software applications. I know that learning never ends. I believe in education. I believe in our shared values: respect for others, honesty, inclusivity, and excellence for all. I believe in our goal to educate all of our children, to keep safety the priority, and to do it in a fiscally responsible way. And now my time is up.
She's finished. All right. And the last opening statement will be given by Erica.
Good evening. Thank you, Jackie Wong and the Rockville Center Council of PTAs for organizing this forum, and to the League of Women Voters for moderating our discussion. I built my campaign for the Rockville Center School District Board of Education around 4 words: parent, educator, advocate, and leader. I am a mother and a wife. My daughter Ryan is currently in 3rd grade at Covert School. My son Jake is in pre-K. He will start kindergarten at Covert in September of 2022. My husband Seth is a teacher in the Garden City Public Schools. He is currently the lead teacher of the Gifted and Talented program. I work as an educator. After graduating from Lehigh University in 2003, I moved to Rockville Center and subsequently began my teaching career at the Garden City Middle School. During my 17-year tenure in the Garden City School District, I have taught social studies, coached varsity athletics, and served on multiple committees designed to evaluate and improve current programs to reflect best practice. In addition, I presented at both local and national conferences on best practice in middle-level social studies education. Currently, I'm working with my coordinator to teach professional development for educators at Malloy College. I'm an advocate and a leader. Since my daughter entered kindergarten, I've been actively involved in PTA. I currently have the privilege of serving as co-president of the Covert PTA. This past summer, I served on Garden City School District's reopening committee, working with parents, staff, and district administration to craft a reopening plan that best met the needs of the students while keeping all students and staff members safe. I am running for the Rockville Center School Board because I am passionate about education. There is much to celebrate about the Rockville Center School District. Our children are educated by intelligent, caring, and passionate professionals. Our children are afforded many extracurricular opportunities via clubs and athletics. There is a deep sense of pride and community within and around our schools. My focus as a candidate for the Board of Education is rooted in furthering our children's academic experience by advocating for and advancing shifts in curriculum and programming that will continue to help ensure a fair, appropriate, and above all, equitable education for all students. The Rockville Center School District provides an equal academic program for all of our students. However, it is important to understand that an equal education and an equitable education are not one and the same. While equality means treating every student the same, equity assures that every student has access to the resources and educational rigor that they need at the right moment in their education. I will use my expertise as an educator to ensure that we, both the Board of Education and the district, accept responsibility for and hold ourselves accountable for every child's academic success and emotional well-being. I am here tonight running for a seat on the Board of Education as a representative for our children. If elected to the board, I will do all of the good that I can in all of the ways that I can for all of our children. Thank you.
I'm going to change something that I said earlier. These ladies have all given wonderful opening statements, so let's applaud them. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for the questions. So many questions are about the same topic. And when that happens, I will make an effort to combine them. We may not be able to hear all of them, because if you've seen me, I've been going through a stack of questions. But let's begin with the first one, all right? And Nancy, you have question number 1 first. What is the role of a school board member with respect to transparency for our community? How can you balance the private nature of some school board matters and communicating with members of the public?
Thank you. So this is an issue that is very important to me. As a school board member, the question of how to be transparent to your community is something that I did think about when deciding to run for this role. One of the first things I did was look at New York's open meeting law that actually codifies exactly what discussion should happen in public and what vote should happen in public and what matters are best suited to executive session. There are 8 exceptions that allow for work to be done in executive session. And if elected, I really will follow the letter of the law and make as many things public as possible, using those exceptions when appropriate. I do believe that, by conducting work in a public forum, it's really the only way you can evaluate how your elected representatives feel on certain issues and vote certain ways. And that's really the only way you can hold people accountable. So, if elected, I will advocate to increase transparency. If we discuss controversial topics, I will, urge that those be done in a public forum. I think that, school boards should vote on as many items as possible, in public.
Time.
And thank you.
All right. Kelly?
There's absolutely no disagreement here, and I will tell you that all of our votes do happen in public, and there are certain reasons and exceptions, as you stated, that we need to be in executive session, and those are when we go into executive session. This board has conducted itself faithfully and with fidelity to those rules, and I take offense to that statement in the past and tonight, so that's really all I have to say.
Next.
I would say that transparency is one of the fundamental obligations of a Board of Education, and something that we take incredibly seriously, and is always in the forefront of everything that we do. I would agree with Kelly that there is a false narrative that has been out in the public that we have been addressed with several times, that somehow we take notes, or I'm sorry, we take votes, not notes. We take votes in executive session, which has never happened. It does not happen. It's just not true, and yet it continues to be repeated. So it is very disturbing and offensive. There is transparency, and then there is privacy, and it's a line. Our staff members do not give up their privacy rights simply because they work for a school district. Our students do not give up their privacy rights when they walk in the doors here. We understand that people want to know a lot of what's happening, but we have to respect other people's rights also.
Next.
The school board represents and works for the community. To that end, I would advocate that the bulk of the board meetings should take place in public session as opposed to a private session. Obviously, I understand that there are many issues that fall under the category of being confidential for both staff and students, and certainly those discussions should take place behind closed doors. But I do think that many of the concerns that the community has regarding transparency with the Board of Education could be helped if there was more conversation and if there was more opportunity for conversation in public meetings. Community members are limited to 3 minutes, which sometimes it's very difficult to express your concerns and then get an answer for that. So to that end, perhaps it would be helpful to offer more opportunities for public comment. in community chats or informal Zooms where board members are available to hear the community. I do believe that our board has done, a very nice job in hosting meetings, but there are community concerns that need to be addressed further, and offering that opportunity and offering the opportunity in public would help a lot of those matters. Thank you.
Now for the second question, and Kelly, you will answer it first. Please comment on your prior involvement with the Board of Education, attendance at meetings, etc. If you do not win the election, will you stay involved?
Absolutely. I was a consistent attendee to board meetings prior to my seeking election to my first term. I have been at every meeting except for the last one as a trustee in my first 3 years. And I would definitely, even if I don't win this election, I will absolutely do my best to take any role in helping support the children of this community. Absolutely.
Next, Liz.
I've served on the board for 12 years, and I'm at every board meeting. I'm sure I've missed one or two for various reasons, like I was sick. But yes, I've always been involved. And I also, this year has been incredibly difficult, obviously, because of COVID. But I try to take part in things that are going on at the building level, because I think it's really important for us to get out and see what's happening, whether it's attending concerts or attending sporting events or anything that whenever the principal allows us, which is not often, to come in and visit. I have given 12 years to this district. I love this district. I think, as I've said, education is a huge priority. I can't imagine not being involved, even if I'm not here. I think, as some of my fellow former board members are sitting in our audience right now, you spend so much of your life and you give so much, you want to continue being involved. So I can't see myself not being here.
Well, I've never sat on the Board of Education. I have attended almost every single Board of Education meeting for the last 3 years. Obviously, during COVID, when we weren't allowed to attend live, I did watch all of the Board of Ed meetings, and once we were allowed to come back in person, I have been at the majority of those in-person meetings, and often find myself at the microphone asking questions. If I do not win this election, I will obviously stay involved doing whatever part that I can do to help further our children's education. Currently, I'm the co-president of the Covert PTA. This is my last year, but would stay involved in PTA in whatever capacity that I possibly could moving forward, either at Covert or when my daughter goes to the middle school. I'm passionate about education. I am interested in education. I like talking about education. And I really like attending meetings, to be quite honest with you. Remember, my daughter was in kindergarten. My husband was late coming home from work, and I had my son and took him to the PTA meeting, and I'm sure everybody probably laughed at me and made fun of me as the crazy lady with the infant at the PTA meeting. But I am involved, I have been involved, and I will continue to be involved regardless of the outcome of this election. Thank you.
Nancy?
Thank you. So over the past year, and like Erica said, during COVID, I did either watch or attend almost every board meeting. I spoke at the reopening forum in favor of our secondary students going back full time. One of the things I do enjoy at board meetings is hearing people's different, hearing the board members' different perspectives. It doesn't happen that frequently, but I think maybe it was 2 meetings ago. It was, is it time? It's okay. Thank you. It was very enlightening to hear how, different people thought, particularly around, how our school was handling its COVID response. And, if I don't win a seat on the Board of Education, I will remain involved I've really come to learn how important an engaged and, committed community member can be to our children's education and to the Board of Education. So I will definitely remain involved. Thank you.
All right. The next question now goes to Liz.
Yes.
It is as follows. What do you feel is the role of PTA within the district? Have you ever served as a board member for an individual PTA unit or for PTA council?
Thank you for that question. PTA is, from a school board point of view, I feel like PTA are our partners. I also think that PTA is the lifeblood of the parents through the school district. I served as a president when I was at Watson, and I served in various capacities prior, which feels like a long time ago, but both at middle school and high school. I think the partnership with the PTA is vital, and I think it's really strong. And I think we've done some phenomenal things, the board district, the board and the school district and the PTA. Things like Parent University, we can't do that without the PTA's help, and it helps everybody in the district. It helps the district show our parents what's going on, and it helps our parents learn more about what's happening. So everything that we can do with the PTA, I think, is better. It works better, and I love working with them.
And Erica?
Okay. PTA is really the heart of our school district. For the past 2 years, I've served as co-president of the Covert PTA, and the year before that, I served as delegate to council for the Rockwell Center PTAs. So I have certainly been very involved in my 4 years as a parent within the district. As co-president of Covert PTA, we have done a lot of work to bring in a variety of programs and activities for the kids that reflect the needs and wants of the students, the staff, and the parents. Over the summer, when it was very unpredictable and unknown what September would look like, we had Zoom meetings for the Covert community along with our principal, just to keep everyone informed and to try to quell fears and anxiety about what school would look like. I see my role as a PTA president as kind of a team leader, that we work together as a group. We work to get everyone to buy in, to support our schools, to support the mission of our school, and then really to advance the school, providing the extracurricular activities that the district can't. So I don't think our schools would function in the same ways that they do if we didn't have leadership from PTA. Thank you.
Now for the next question.
I'm sorry.
Yes, beg pardon?
Can I respond to the question?
To the one she just,
To the PTA question?
yes.
Right, she skipped me, right? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I've always been very involved in the Hewitt PTA. I was a member since my daughter was in kindergarten. I never was an officer, but I attended meetings, volunteered for PTA events, and generally was an active PTA participant. That being said, I do think, while the PTA is a vital part of our community, in terms of experience, there are other ways to bring value to our school board. At the Federal Trade Commission, where I worked as an attorney for 14 years, we engaged in large investigations that really required us to dig deeply into various industries. When I looked at some of the companies I was investigating, we always did it with an eye towards how we could help the companies function better to get more value for consumers. I feel like those skills would be very transferable to the Board of Education, particularly in a changing environment, and I look forward to putting those skills to work if elected. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. One of my first memories of Watson was at a parent event, walking in and seeing all the parent volunteers and the parents involved in the PTA, and I very quickly wanted to be part of that and give back to the wonderful school that Watson is. And I quickly got involved and sat on many of the committees over the years before I was co-president for the 1 year before running for the board. And it's just such an amazing connection to the women, not just at Watson, but I met so many wonderful women, many of whom are sitting in this audience tonight, over the years, who I still consider friends. And I'm so grateful for those relationships that I've met, because we share one common purpose in giving back to the school and giving back anything we can for the support of our children. One of the things that I also found helpful as a co-president was sitting in the president's meetings with Dr. Johnson at the time, the superintendent, and just learning about the different schools and through the PTA representatives, what was going on throughout the community, and that really started to pique my interest in getting involved on a larger district level role like the board. Thank you.
All right. We've all done the PTA? All right, next question then. If elected, would you support IB for all and the RVC accelerated curriculum, which puts all students on track to take 2 Regents exams in 8th grade? Or would you advocate for change?
I fully support the IB program and would never advocate to remove the program. One question that I do have about IB is, clearly our district is committed to the framework, and it is a framework, it's a full curriculum, it's not just singular courses. So if we are a committed IB district, I would advocate to think about adding the PYP, which is the primary years program, to the elementary school. We can't expect children to learn one way, grades K through 5, in a more teacher-directed, teacher-centered way, and then arrive in middle school and suddenly we switch to the IB framework, the IB philosophy, which is much more student-centered. Children are most curious when they are young. Let's foster that curiosity and bring them through the full program. With regards to acceleration for all, I do not support acceleration for all students. I don't believe that all students learn in the same way, and I don't believe that all students are ready for an accelerated curriculum in grade 8. Anytime you see the words accelerated or curriculum compacting, which is what happens at the middle school, the words gifted and talented are always tied onto that. I support providing curriculums that meet the needs of all learners. A curriculum that's meant for students who are working towards achieving standards or are achieving standards, the regular grade level curriculum, and I fully support offering a curriculum for students who have exceeded the standards. We need to ensure that all students have a curriculum that meets their needs. Thank you.
Nancy?
So IB has been one of the hallmarks of our district for a very long time. The goals of the curriculum fit well with Rockville Center's mission, which is educating all students to realize their full potential. That being said, I view a board member's responsibility as a person who needs to provide oversight and guidance. And I do think, periodically, like you would do with any business, that you do have to reevaluate from time to time large programs that your district is using to make sure they continue to remain the right fit. Through listening to our community members, I've heard that the IB program can result in some negative externalities, such as a very rigid schedule for students, an inability of students to pursue electives. It's unclear whether or not it helps students in terms of college applications, or if it helps students more than perhaps another curriculum model. I don't hold myself out to be an expert on the various choices of curriculum. We have very smart experts that are employed by the district who know way more about this than I do. That being said, I do think that we need a comprehensive evaluation of this. And at the end of that day, when we evaluate this with stakeholders from all of the district, including guidance counselors, teachers, parents, students, community members. We may decide that yes, IB continues to be the right fit for us, or maybe we should keep some parts of the IB program and incorporate some other things, or maybe we should shift our curriculum altogether. But I would propose that we take a critical look at this. Thank you.
Next.
I can assure you that the team at the high school, the middle school, and our elementary team constantly reflects on the best program and what we want for our students. You start at high school graduation and you work backwards. What do you want our students to be able to do upon graduation when they leave Southside High School? What do you want them to be no matter what path or journey they take in life? And it's the skills that we want for our students. We want them to be able to solve complex problems, to think through multiple perspectives, to ask really good questions, to have the research skills and the foundation to know how to get where they want to be. And the IB program is a program, there are also IB courses, and these skills run consistently through the DP, the MYP at the middle school, and I certainly would love and advocate if district administration came and recommended PYP, then you're streamlining all of those skills K-12. The Acceleration for All model is part of that story. So I would be open-minded, like I always am, if district administration came and wanted to have a conversation about making certain changes or tweaks. But that when we accelerate for all, there's purpose behind it. We want our students to get calculus before they leave us because we know that's going to set them up for more success after they leave us. Every student should be addressed by their needs. We meet every student where they are. And you work with that student and you support them and you challenge them appropriately to get them where they need to be. And our team here, through professional development and differentiation, constantly wants to be better and do better. And I can assure you that that is consistently happening. Thank you.
All right, Liz.
I fully support the IB program here in the high school. There's a lot of misinformation about the IB program, things like you can't get college credit, which is patently untrue. It's hard to say every single school, but you take an average school, you take a school like a SUNY Binghamton, if you get a 4 on your IB English exam, you get 4 credits. 91% of the students got a 4 on their IB English exam. It is not about credit, though. It is about preparation. There was a poll that was released last year by CNBC. Only 41% of students complete college in 4 years. If you give them 6 years, 59% of them complete college. We did our own research several years ago. 90% of Southside High School students who take 2 IB courses finish college in 4 years. When college is close to $70,000 a year, that is significant, that is important. IB prepares our students for the work that needs to be done at college. We are always looking at our programs. We are always looking to increase opportunities for our students. But why would we give up on a program that has given us so much success for years?
All right. Next question. All right.
Is this to me? I forget our order.
Beg pardon?
Is this going to come to me? I forget our order.
I'm trying to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it keeps getting mixed up.
No.
Because I believe that Erica started the last one.
Okay, so it is me.
Right.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Right, so then you would be the first one here now for this one. All right. What do you think is a big challenge our district faces over the next few years? And what are your thoughts on how to overcome this challenge?
So I think one of the biggest challenges that's currently facing our district, and I hope it will not be a challenge over the next few years, but it may be. But I think our biggest current challenge is improving the district's declining rankings, and I think that needs to be a primary focus. I mean, I understand that rankings aren't the end-all be-all, but they really do influence new home buyers, which therefore can impact our home values. And when you look at other districts that have, comparable tax bases, they seem to achieve much higher rankings than we do. I've often heard the argument that the rankings really don't reflect what's going on in the schools, and, I understand that, and I do agree with that to some extent. That being said, we use rankings all the time, at every moment in our lives. We want to go to the 10 out of 10 hospital. We want to buy the safest car. We want to book the 4-star trip on Expedia. And furthermore, our neighboring districts are using similar matrices, and they have, they have to put in the same inputs, and they're getting higher rankings than we are. So I do think that is something as a district we need to look closely at. In terms of how to solve that problem, I really think that we need to depend on our top educators that we've hired in our district. And I'm sure our new superintendent has a lot of great ideas, and I would rely on our district to come up with solutions that I could evaluate as a board member. Thank you.
Kelly?
Going back to the rankings, if you were to take our 8th grade Algebra Regents results and put them up against those districts, I think you would see different results. I'm not really interested in changing something that works just to make a list personally. I would argue that our biggest challenge moving forward is getting our kids back to a sense of normalcy, providing them stability, a safe and nurturing environment, getting them back to normalcy next year and thereafter. They've been through so much. And I'm so proud of the work that this district has prioritized with the support of the board in supporting our students' social and emotional needs, our partnership with Northwell Behavioral Center, adding counselors at the elementary and secondary level, and just consistently reinforcing that with our teachers and our administrators that we need to take care of our kids. We need to meet them where they are when they get back in September and really foster and make sure that they know that it's going to be okay, that brighter days are ahead, and we're here to support them. That's always going to be an ongoing challenge. Just as much support as we give, there's always going to be a need for more. So just keeping those eyes and ears out and taking care of our kids' social and emotional needs, I think that's going to continue to be a challenge.
Next.
So to start with the rankings, I absolutely, while we're always disappointed when we don't rank high on these lists, we cannot chase criteria and methodology. The way we teach hasn't changed from year to year, yet one year we're on the list, one year we're off the list. That cannot be our standard, whether we're on this list. Between 99 and 100% of our students graduate. 90% of them have advanced Regents diplomas. 96 to 99% of them go to college. And in 2018, 61% of them were IB diploma candidates. These are the things that we look at, not whether or not we make US News and World Report. As for major issues, I absolutely agree with Kelly. We have to look at the mental health of our students, K through 12. We need to normalize, get back to normal for our students and for our staff. I think all of us need some sense of normalcy. We are so hopeful that come September, we're all back in and things look a little bit different. That's what we're hoping anyway. Another issue, we have a new superintendent, we have new administrators, change is hard. Change during a pandemic is next to impossible. We need to keep our...
Erica?
One of the biggest challenges that I see going along with rankings, and I do think that rankings are a challenge because rankings do matter, no matter how much we want to say that they don't. They drive perception of our district. I don't want my daughter to be seen as a statistic for the district to hang its hat on. 99% of students graduating is excellent. It's something to be proud of, but what was their school experience like? Are they graduating reaching their full potential, or did they spend the entire time struggling through school? My concern is that we are providing an equitable education for all of our students, that we see them as individuals, not as numbers, not as a whole, because they all have different needs and different priorities. Academics might not be one of them. Maybe they dance for 13 hours a week and can't handle or don't want the rigor of an accelerated program. So one of the challenges I think that we need to overcome is finding out, what do our students want? Is this the program that works for them? Is this the program that works best for them? Another challenge that I really see is within the curriculum is making sure that we have more what we call in education mirrors and windows, that we are pulling diversity, that we are offering students, authors, a history told by authentic voices, that we're not just narrating, our own story, so that we are seeing kids as kids, we're providing them with an appropriate, equitable education, and that they see themselves in their education and in their school. Thank you.
All right, next question. Kelly, you begin with that. Now, this has 3 sentences, but they're all related to the same question, all right? Are you in favor of the proposed 2021-2022 budget? If so, what would you say to those who oppose it? If you are not in favor of the proposed budget, please explain why. Kelly?
I'm absolutely in favor of the proposed budget. I'm very proud of the proposed budget that we put forth to the community. There have been many things added to this budget that have been asked for across the district for the last several years. Last year, at this time, we were in a much different state, and the economic hardship and the mental toll, we were in the midst of the pandemic. And I remember feeling just pretty downtrodden about just trying to make sure that we were able to maintain our instructional program in the midst of just such chaos and understanding what the community was going through. This year, we were able to present a 0% tax levy increase, 1% year to year, and add academic, social, and emotional support at all levels. And the proposed budget also adds the 3 playgrounds at Riverside, Covert, and Hewitt. And I really just think it's such a testament to the work of Mr. Chang and Mr. Bartels and our administrative staff at looking at the reality and looking at where we want to be and making sure that even with this budget, we're going to be okay in the years ahead. So I absolutely support this budget, and I would argue to the people that didn't, that it's hitting all of the things that show us that we're moving forward in the right direction for the holistic student.
Next.
I absolutely support this budget. I've been on the board for 12 years, and I've never had a budget where there was a 0% tax levy increase. I think it's phenomenal. Not only is it a 0% tax levy increase, but as Kelly said, we're adding things. We're adding math and reading support in the elementary levels. We're adding kindergarten specials, which is something that we've been talking about for years. We're adding an elementary school counselor. Because the first counselor that we added about 3 years ago was so successful, and we felt that we needed extra work. It was that good. We're adding a social worker that will work for 6th to 12th grades. We're moving RISE into the middle school. We're adding American Sign Language. These are things that we have been talking about for years, and that this budget will allow, and that we get that with a 0% tax levy increase is amazing. In addition, there's a line, $1.2 million for capital improvements. A chunk of that, as Kelly said, is going to 3 playgrounds in our elementary schools. The rest is for important repairs. We have 7 aging buildings in the district and usually need repairs. This is a very important budget. And for anybody who is not supporting it, I would really just want to have a conversation with them and say why. Again, it's a 0% increase on the tax levy, and it is sustainable because it has been questioned. So I'm very proud of it.
Erica?
I fully support the school budget. It's not only a direct investment in our children, but in our community. The 2021 budget preserves all school programs, and as Kelly and Liz said, extends many opportunities specifically to our kindergarten students. It's also providing improvements to our school buildings. I know Covert is very excited to finally be getting a new playground. A no vote results in cuts to programs, which positively impact education and teachers, which may lead to larger class sizes and loss of options for kids. Moreover, a no vote does not necessarily lead to lasting reform on spending. What can lead to lasting reform is your vote for trustee for the Rockville Center Board of Education. As a taxpayer, there is the expectation that the school district is spending money wisely, targeting funds towards evidence-based practices and interventions. It is the job of the board to ensure that taxpayer money is being used efficiently and effectively. Thank you.
Nancy.
I also support the budget. I will be voting in favor of it. I do understand that we have a 0% tax levy, which I think is welcome news to community residents at this time. But I do want to point out that we also got a significant increase in state aid this year, and we really can't guarantee that that increase will be there going forward. So if elected, I will advocate that we manage future expenditures against tax levies and future aid amounts tightly. I was very happy to see that the CapEx went up from the initial budget, which actually set it at $900,000. It went up to 1.2, I think, when we got a little more state and federal aid. But it has come down from 1.8, where it was last year. And I am concerned, and if elected, I will advocate that we put as much money as possible towards capital expenditures, because I think there are two things that make great schools: great teachers, which we have, and great facilities. And I do feel like our schools' facilities need a little bit of a refresh. I'm very excited that we got the playgrounds, but there's more to do. The other thing that, there are a few other issues that I would like to look into further if elected to the Board of Education, but I think I'm going to run out of time, so thank you.
All right, for the next question, Liz, you are the first person to answer it. How do we encourage awareness of diversity and tolerance of others?
Inclusivity and diversity and equity are the bedrock of Rockville Center schools. It is something that we have been focused on and teaching for decades. It is why we teach how we teach. Obviously, there's a lot happening in the world, and our kids are not in a bubble, and they see it, and they come in, and we need training. We need professional development so that our teachers can facilitate tough conversations. We need our children to learn about empathy. We need our children to learn about kindness, and we need them to learn how to communicate, because sometimes what we say is not what they hear. Our goal is to promote a culture of respect and civility. We want our students to feel safe. We never want any of our students to feel marginalized. But we always have to remember that our students don't come from all the same place. We have an incredibly diverse population here, and it's something we need to address at all times. Something we always need to keep in mind and address.
Erica?
I believe that we encourage awareness and tolerance through curriculum review and through professional development for teachers on culturally responsive teaching. The construct has an enormous positive effect, not only on student achievement, but also on the development of empathy. Every student needs to see themselves in their school, their faces reflected in the faculty and staff, their stories narrated in the literature that they read, told by authors who have lived their experience, and their history dictated by authentic voices. As I mentioned before, school curriculum needs to offer more mirrors and windows. Mirrors are resources that reflect your own culture and help you build your identity. Windows are resources that offer a view into someone else's experience. It's critical to understand that students cannot truly learn about themselves unless they learn about others as well. If elected to the Board of Education, I would advocate for more teacher training in culturally responsive teaching and curriculum reviews in both social studies and English to make sure that the literature that students are reading reflect our diverse student body and that history is being told by the voices of the people who lived it. That's it. Thank you.
We do have children of many differing abilities, races, ethnicities, and religion in our community and in our schools. And I am proud to be part of a school district that wholeheartedly supports inclusion. As our world changes, our curriculum needs to change too. And I too personally believe that children learn best when they hear their voices, see their experiences and their backgrounds and the sources that are being used in our curriculum. We need to include the narratives of people from a wider range of racial, ethnic, religious, and cultural backgrounds in the materials that we use in our schools because that is America. However, I do think that we need to be sensitive to all students, and we need to incorporate this in a way that doesn't make any student or staff member feel alienated or negative about their background or about their country. Rockville Center has a strong focus on multicultural curriculum, and I applaud them for that, and I will work to be sure that that focus continues if elected to the Board of Education. Thank you.
All right, next.
As previously stated, our district has a solid foundation in this work, and I'm proud that we have been ahead of many of the other districts in this work. We continue to provide our staff professional development opportunities. It's an ongoing conversation at all levels. One of the things that was a positive byproduct of the COVID experience, just the 3 new elementary principals working together with the other 2, really, they've solidified such a bond and a teamwork approach. And one of their main goals coming out of that really has been looking at the curriculum K-5 across the district and making sure that it's consistent. And one of the goals is to really investigate and inquire about the sources that we're providing and the opportunities that we're providing for our children to learn about each other. And as you move up through the middle school and high school, the opportunities for students to consider multiple viewpoints, to really have those active listening experiences where respect is shown to each and every individual student and staff member in safe learning environments. That's a priority. It will continue to be a priority. And it's very important that we support our staff and our students in this important work.
I think Erica's next.
Is she? Okay, I've lost track again.
Yes, all right.
It's me. Yeah.
Erica's next.
Okay.
Next question. What do you see as the role of mental health supports in our school?
Right. Mental health is equally as important as talking about children's academic success, because there will be no success if we are not mentally healthy. Our board and our district has done a great deal of work around mental health, which is applaudable. They have a partnership with Northwell Health, which I think was well needed. If elected to the Board of Education, I would like to continue doing the work that the board has started surrounding mental health. I'd also like to talk about, within the school curriculum, ways in which we see that we can alleviate stress and anxiety for students to better help them with their coursework, with their day-to-day. As I've said, I do think that some of the curricular constraints that are put on children do add to anxiety and do add to stress, and in my opinion, that's unneeded. We need to see children for who they are, both in school and out of school, and provide a program that meets them where they are to help them be successful academically, and also to make sure that they are, achieving mental health as well. Thank you.
All right, Erica, now we go to Nancy.
Thank you. So I do think mental health is a very important topic for this district and, and for our nation right now. I truly believe that COVID has been a collective trauma on our children, and I've seen that in my own children, and I know they've felt the effects of that trauma. What I truly believe is that the safest and healthiest place for kids to be right now is in school, and I applaud our district for getting them back full time. But I want to point out that it was not without advocacy from parents in our community that really did push our schools to open our doors. I heard in the summer that Hewitt might not open full time, and that was one of the reasons I made the very difficult decision to send my child to St. Agnes. He has special needs, and he works well with the St. Agnes therapist, but the healthiest place for him to be was in-person learning. So I do want to, continue to push, with great respect for public health, and do it in a way that's safe for our community. But I do think we need to push to have our children go back to school full time and do so in the least restrictive manner possible. So if I'm elected to the board, I will continually reevaluate our COVID mitigation measures to make sure that, while they remain effective and while they're keeping our children safe, they are doing so in the least restrictive manner. Thank you.
Kelly?
We're all certainly in agreement that the best place and the safest place for our children is in school, and we all work together to make that goal happen as quickly as we could, as under the guidelines that we had to follow. There's no argument there from anyone here. In terms of mental health, it has become such a widespread issue. That's why I said no matter how much we support from our seat, there's never going to be a day where we sit back and say we've done enough. Every single person in the school building, the bus driver, the lunch aide, the nurse, every single person in the school building plays a role in supporting the mental health of our students, because they all have needs. They all need us to know, even if they're quiet and they're not even coming out and exhibiting necessarily on the outside, we have to be in touch and in tune, and our administrative team and our teachers have been wonderful. I'd like to give them more support and more professional development, because it really is an all hands-on-deck approach to the mental health and well-being of our students.
Liz?
Mental health has been a priority in this district for years. The partnership with Northwell Behavioral Health has just been an incredible experience, especially during COVID, where they were able to see students on a one-to-one basis, where they were able to support our staff, and they were able to support our parents through workshops. COVID has been incredibly difficult. We've all talked about that. From the summer, Superintendent Chang wanted all of our students back in the building. That was the goal. In September, all of our elementary students came back. As soon as sports were offered, as soon as clubs were available, and when we found it to be safe, we brought everybody back in. Not only educationally was it a better thing, but for mental health. Our budget is adding a counselor in both the elementary, a social worker in the middle school. Mental health is a priority, and I think it will remain a priority for years. Thank you.
Next, Nancy.
Oh, I answered that.
You answered it. Erica, you next?
I started. I think we're up to the next question.
But where are we?
Very
Nancy,
nice and quick.
I'm up again.
All right. The question is, just one moment. Where do you see room for growth, academic or otherwise, in the district? And what specifically would you do to help achieve that growth?
So that is a big question to answer in 90 seconds, and I feel like I have a lot of ideas, but I'm just going to pick one that I would love to see our district start to achieve, and that is, I went to school in Maryland, and Friday night was such a fun night for us because we had a football team and everybody went, and it was just a great time. The whole school community went, and then we all went out to Friendly's afterwards for ice cream. It was kind of idyllic. But, you know, I don't think that one thing people talk about at the Board of Education that much, or particularly in these forums, is our athletic program. And I would love to see a reinvigoration of Southside athletics. I know our girls soccer team is awesome, and, you know, I know we have a very vibrant sports program, but I would love to, you know, try and replicate, you know, that Friday night that I used to have, and get the community, you know, rallied around our football team, and just to make it, you know, a fun and safe experience for our kids, because I think that would be a great outlet for them, and I just think it would be a really, really beneficial to our community. Thank you.
On the academic front, I would encourage conversations that are looking to streamline, like we said earlier, the potentially bringing in the PYP program, which would be the IB at the elementary, and then really spiraling that up more consistently, but also concurrently educating the community about it and the parents about it, and showing them all the wonderful things that the children would be learning K-12 and why it would be such a consistent kind of story from beginning to end. I would also like to see more science, technology, engineering, kind of looking through K-12 lens and really making sure that that's vertically aligned. However, the Board of Ed really just supports the district administrative team, and they would come and bring that to us as the board, and we would work together to see what our goals were and vision were for the future. I would also definitely would encourage anything that would kind of support the whole development of the whole child. So yeah, athletics would be important. It is an important part of Rockville Center and Southside, absolutely. The middle school teams and the high school teams were able to have a little bit of a season this year. We're so happy to see that. And our arts and our music students are just doing phenomenally, even in the limitations of COVID. So anything that we could do as a board to support those extracurriculars, I would fully support.
Liz?
I think this is an incredibly exciting time for Rockville Center. We have several new administrators and a new administration team, and it's just I think as we push forward and come out of COVID, it's a thrilling time to be here. I think we need to look at different opportunities for students. I absolutely agree with Kelly. We've been talking about for years, looking at our technology programs, looking at robotics. It's grown over the past few years. I think there's always room. We want to look at coding. Anything that involves our students and grounds our students to our buildings is a great thing, whether it is, for some of them it's athletics, for some of them it's music, for some of them it's coding. We have 3 new elementary principals. We're looking at our Stellar program and beefing that up and moving it towards the middle school and looking at what enrichment opportunities we can do at the middle school, which is very exciting. And I absolutely agree that now that MYP is cemented into the middle school, we need to start looking at PYP and what we can do with our elementary schools. Thank you.
One area for growth that I see in the district lies within differentiation of instruction. At the elementary level, our schools do an excellent job supporting struggling students. However, there needs to be more consistent, meaningful opportunities for enrichment for students who are exceeding the standards. At present, Rockville Center claims to implement a school-wide enrichment model, which offers enrichment to all students. And all students do receive enrichment one-time 6-day cycle in Stellar. However, there are not consistent opportunities for Tier 2 and Tier 3 enrichment for students throughout the day. I think if we're going to say that we are a school-wide enrichment model or offering that model, then we need to make sure that it's being implemented in the way that it's supposed to be. At the secondary level, As I've said, I support offering options, multiple curriculums in each grade level. At present, middle school students take a compacted curriculum in grades 6 and 7. That means they're doing 3 years worth of work in 2, and they'll take accelerated math and science regardless of if they are ready for the rigor of those courses. Acceleration is not an effective way to differentiate instruction for students who are only meeting the standards or who are performing below the standards. Allowing students to choose the curriculum that they feel best meet their academic needs is what will lead to success for their students. I'm not recommending tracking, I'm recommending choice. And that choice is dictated by the student, the parent, their guidance counselor. It's an informed decision which best meets their needs. Being knowledgeable on education is one of the greatest strengths I will bring to the Board of Education. Thank you.
The answers to this question have moved into the next and last question that I was going to ask. I'll still ask it. We've been talking about many topics, but this time we have a question from a student here at the high school. As a current Southside senior and first-time voter, I have utilized the forum of the Board of Education to articulate and advocate for activities and priorities that are important to me, including the elevation and funding of a robotics program at the high school. How will you actively secure student voice, perspective, and experience in your decision-making process?
Me, right? I start?
Yes.
Thank you.
Nancy.
Thank you so much for your question. It's so important. We are here for you, for the students. That's why we do what we do every day. And I would encourage students to come. Whenever we have students come to a meeting, we try to make sure that they are able to get up to the mic first if they want to speak or share any thoughts, so that they can get home and do their homework, whatever they need to do for the next day. I would also, we really do encourage our district administrators, and I know that they do this because that's their foremost priority as well. They want to hear from the students. So really what would happen if, absent of coming to a meeting or writing to us or coming and speaking to one of us, you would definitely share your thoughts with your teachers and your administration, and that would get funneled back up. And I certainly would love to come and watch the events after, hopefully, the coding program gets its funding. And we would certainly celebrate you and all of your achievements, as we try to do at our board meetings from time to time as well. But really, student voice is so important. It's at the heart of everything we do, and really just through asking questions at the board level, digging down to see what the students are saying and what they're asking for is important as well.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. It really, students are the reason we are here, plain and simple. And over the years, we've tried to highlight more students and bring them into our board meetings. Our board meetings aren't the most exciting places for them to be, but as Kelly said, we usually try to bring them in, and if they have something to say, have them say, not have them stick around all day. One of the things that we planned when we met and hired Superintendent Chang was to have more of an open communication, both with the public, have things like coffee with the superintendent, and more sort of open town halls. And I think to do that with students would be a phenomenal thing to go forward. We want to hear from our students. We absolutely encourage them to speak to all the staff members and administration within their buildings And they do, and those staff members often, they'll bring it back to us, but it is different to hear directly from a student. So I would hope that once COVID is over and we can gather together again, we're able to have that communication. Thank you.
I think the student voice is probably the most important voice that the members of the board and really any administrator or teacher should be looking or listening to. I mean, the purpose of the school is to educate children. It's to educate you. So we need to ensure that we are doing our best every day in every way that we can for you. So in order to hear your voice, I think first we would have to ask and then provide an opportunity to find out. You know, coming to board meetings, they're very long. Maybe they're not the best forum to hear the student voice. Maybe there could be more informal meetings with members of the board, Zooms, community chats. Just as the board attends PTA meetings, maybe there's a way for the board to attend student council meetings so that we can hear you and give you the opportunity to speak to us as on your turf, not coming to us to find out. So your voice should really inform everything that we do, and if elected to the board, your voice would be my #1 priority. Thank you.
So I really commend that student for asking that question, because I agree with every thing the other candidates have said. Hearing from students is so important. I mean, they really are the closest to the experience that we've all been talking about. The experience of their education, and they are probably in the best position to say what's working and say what we could be doing better. To that effect, I personally had a Zoom meeting with recently graduated Southside graduates to talk about the IB curriculum, because I wanted to hear from them and hear what was working and what wasn't, and how they felt the experience prepared them for college or wherever they were. And it was really enlightening. One of the ways I think that we could solicit more student feedback would really be through potentially surveys. I know we don't use them that often in the district, but I think they're an excellent way to gather information. I think people can be more inclined to say exactly what they think in the anonymity of a survey. And students are very comfortable with technology, I'm sure more so than many of us. So particularly if you conducted a survey online, we might be able to really get a good pulse on how the students feel about a particular issue. Thank you. Okay.
They have to do the closing. Ladies, it is now time for your closing remarks. Would you like to come to the podium, or would you like to sit and give them?
I'm fine sitting.
All right. We'll begin with you, Nancy, and we'll go down the road.
Even though I started with
Yes.
the opening remarks.
Even though you started.
Wonderful. Okay. So no one can deny that the past 2 years have brought insurmountable challenges. Whether or not you feel your voice or experience has been heard, it is undeniable that our school community has worked incredibly hard to meet the needs of our children during an unimaginable crisis. The fact that we are here today is a testament to our entire community. It's a testament to our resilience and a testament to our perseverance and curiosity, which is the very basis of education. I believe both in the strength and the excellence of our schools. This is why I'm so eager to run. I believe that it is the right time to lend a new perspective from someone skilled at research and willing to ask questions on behalf of all of those who may have inquiries of their own. If elected, I promise to work for my community by actively engaging with community members to understand their concerns, hear their ideas, and bring that input back to the board and administration. Through transparency and community partnership, we can together strengthen the educational experience our district provides for our children. Thank you.
Next.
Being a member of the board is about collaboration. It's about incremental and steady change. It's about considering the needs of all of our students and their families. We are always changing. We are always listening and reflecting and developing ways to be nimble and serve our students better. Nothing is stagnant in Rockville Center, but real and lasting change takes a steady hand and an understanding of desired outcomes. Some will make you think the answer is all in the numbers, in test scores or ratings, that they do not tell the whole story. In reality, the real measure of success is far more nuanced. It is the whole student. It is the whole picture. It's not just a number, not just a data point. My priority for the short term is to get our students back to stability. There are better days ahead, and we are getting there. The future is bright. During my term, I am proud to have been part of the hiring of our new superintendent, Mr. Jun Chang. I'm looking forward to a time when everyone gets to meet him in person, a time post-COVID when he's able to wholly focus on the work he was hired to do. Additionally, I am proud of the partnership that we have as a team here, and I look forward to continuing to work on behalf of all of the children. I'm excited to begin to further address the challenges of overcrowding, academic differentiation, and bring our district every single day better than it was the day before. Our proposed budget reflects what we value most, which is the social and emotional wellness of our students. As a board member, I've learned our district is dynamic and adaptive. We are always striving to be better. I hope I can continue to serve and be part of a more positive and productive year ahead. Thank you for listening. Good night.
Liz?
Once again, thank you to the PTA Council and the League of Women Voters. People are asking me why I am looking to do this again. There's a feeling I get when I stand on the sidelines at a football game, during concert season when I watch the progression from elementary through middle to high school, a feeling that comes with shaking almost 600 hands on the day of middle school and high school graduation. I've been a witness of our students' growth and their learning, and knowing that I am a part of it, however small, is a great honor. I've had the privilege to work with a phenomenal group of people who care deeply about our students and their education, and everyone needs to know that every decision that is made has our students at its core. I am so proud of where we are today. As I prepared for the forum, looking back to September, we have grown so much. Our schools are fully opened, our sports are back on the fields and on the courts, our musical is on the stage. Plans are being made for prom, celebrations, moving up, and graduation. Over 80% of our staff is vaccinated. Our high school students are lining up for their vaccinations. Soon, students as young as 12 will be eligible. Our staff and our students have shown so much resilience. We have learned, and those lessons will make us stronger in the future. We are in a great place. I believe as a district we should be responsible and conservative with our finances, yet always maintain that our children must be at the center of every decision. I believe in our shared values like honesty, respect, empathy, inclusivity, and excellence for all. I believe that each and every one of our children should be challenged and supported, regardless of what a standardized test says. I believe that all of our children have gifts, and it is our job to help them find those gifts and allow them to grow and flourish. And I believe that all means all. Once again, I thank you for listening, and I thank you for participating.
As Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. We should strive to be in a state of constant reflection, revision, and evolution, with better being our collective goal. While we have much to celebrate about our schools, there is room for growth. I look at my daughter. She'll be leaving elementary school in 2 years, and I worry deeply. Because in my heart of hearts, I know that the academic program that awaits her is not going to meet her needs as a learner. There will be no productive struggle, just struggle, that will ultimately stifle the love of learning that was instilled in her at Covert School. These worries are not unique to me. We have the opportunity to make meaningful, positive change for our children. I am fully committed to working for that change, ensuring that all students have full access to a quality education, an appropriate curriculum, and sufficient individually tailored support for learning so they can achieve their highest potential. If elected to the Rockville Center Board of Education, I will represent the entire community, including citizens who may not have had a direct relationship with the public schools, by staying well informed on community issues, as well as local, state, national, and global education. I will bring a thoughtful, sincere, and deliberate approach to the position, using my voice to ensure all stakeholders' concerns are heard and collaborative solutions are guaranteed. I will use my expertise as an educator to provide oversight with knowledgeable critique and advocacy, ensuring that the K-12 educational program aligns with the district's mission, to provide a safe, nurturing environment in which individual and civic responsibility is fostered, diversity is respected, and all students are enabled to realize their full potential. Thank you to everyone in the audience and at home for taking time to join us this evening. I truly appreciate your consideration. It would be a great honor to represent you and your children. Thank you.
Before we close, let us give them our thunderous applause.
Thank you. That concludes our candidates forum for 2021. Once again, thank you to our candidates for a very thoughtful and thought-provoking discussion. And I would like another round of applause for Marion Fleming, our moderator, and the League of Women Voters. She didn't even have to take her school teacher voice out and yell at us all. So the next step now is to vote. We ask you all to vote. Your vote is your voice, so please use it. Once again, Election Day is May 18th. Voting will be open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. here at the high school. And if you are interested in an absentee ballot, please visit the district website to get information on that. And we're going to ask everyone to please gather your things and head out quickly so that our staff can get to cleaning and get themselves home tonight. Drive safely. Good night.